Greetings and welcome to another Warhammer 40,000 Kill Team video. Today I'm going to show you how doors work for Kill Team Into the Dark. And this is how you use a door in Kill Team. There you go. No, of course, no. This is a proper guide as a Patreon requested video going over tips and tricks for basically trying to use doors for Kill Team Into the Dark. But before we get into things, please remember to like and subscribe as well as comment. Let me know if you thought this video was helpful or useful or anything else I'd missed. And if you want, I've got a Discord you can check out in the episode description below, as well as a Patreon if you want to give me some more support. But yeah, I'm going to go over a bit of a door tactica because doors are slightly different for Kill Team Into the Dark. Like, it's a mission action and they're everywhere in all missions for Kill Team Into the Dark. So once again, this is a Patreon requested video, so I hope you guys enjoy. So I'll just go to the tactica. As I would have touched upon in the intro, this is my guide for how to use doors for Kill Team. Excluding the basics of costing an action point to open a door, and a door as a mission action, when would you actually want to open doors and how would you actually want to use them? So there's some key concepts you actually need to know about doors. Firstly, you need to be within black to open a door, so which is 1 inch. So you can't be here to open a door, you have to move up and touch it, or like be within black of the access point. So as long as you can move there, you can open it, and obviously if you do it while concealed, you're safe. But when would you actually want to open a door? So it really depends on the mission and who you're facing against. If there's a mission where it's all about scoring at the end of the turning point, usually doors will cover a wide room. And if that wide room has another door, it's usually on the other side for your opponent to use. And the key thing to do here is to wait. So unless your opponent runs in first, usually you should wait for your opponent to open a door if the mission is scoring at the end of the turning point. Other times you may want to use doors is actually to control a room. So you may want to pop it early to make sure you have a firing line with your shooters who can then go on guard. And if someone is running a melee team and they're trying to move into the objectives early, you've now got a free shot at them. Obviously, the big downside of opening a door early is that you now bring yourself at risk of being shot back, especially if you're engaged, or now it's much easier to charge and fight you. Now we come to hatch fighting and when you would want to use doors. So obviously you can't shoot and fight through doors, and the biggest thing is blocking them off with a lot of bodies. But there's actually a lot of ways around this. So the first thing is hatch fighting. So the way you hatch fight is quite different to how you would normally do it. Obviously you wouldn't want to open the door here, and it's actually a really good way to shut down APL2 teams who are melee orientated, because generally all they can do is move up to the door and then open it to fight, whereas all they can do is actually just move and open. They would actually have to start next to the door to open and hatch fight. But hatch fighting itself is an interesting thing. So you actually can't charge and hatch fight. Well, you can, but the problem with hatch fighting is you actually have to be touching the door. Your base has to be next to the door touching it. You can't be within black. So you have weird situations where to do a charge move, you have to end with an engagement range of someone. So let's say this door is open. I am actually here. And assuming I couldn't place my base here, like if the door was here, I actually can't charge because I can't end like this. I won't be able to fit. And as per the rules, I can't charge. But you can still move, and importantly, you can move and dash and hatch fight. So you can move and hatch fight. If you have free APL, you could move, dash and hatch fight, but you can't charge unless someone's standing next to the door, so you can charge and end within engagement range of them. So that's something to keep in mind, because hatch fighting can be quite awkward. Like, for example, normally you could charge while within 8 inches because of your 1 inch engagement range, so that's 9 inches. But if you are exactly 8 inches away and they are not within black of the door, you can't charge where you normally could, or if you had to finish on the door. So if you were like 7 inches away, that's when it becomes really awkward. So that's something to keep in mind. But hatch fighting in itself is also a weird fight. Let's say everyone is
blocking this access point, and to be blocking they have to be within white. You move, hatch fight, and the interesting thing about hatch fighting as the attacker is no one counts as an engagement range unless they're actually in engagement range. So if your opponent has bunched around the door going, you can't come in, and if you hatch fight me, I've got 4 guys, you can suddenly go, okay, I opened the door, hatch fight with one of the fighters I actually want to fight with, and you don't get the engagement range bonuses or penalties. So, for example, if my Nob Commando went and hatched 4 against the leader, I'd fight normally. He wouldn't get +3 to hit, for example, because none of those guys count as an engagement range. So it's important to remember as someone who is going to hatch fight and someone who is guarding the door. So that's another tool in your arsenal. Obviously, it's much easier with the Nob Commando, who has an ability to give himself or someone else +1 APL, so he can go pseudo APL free, because then he can go like move, dash, move, open the door and hatch fight, etc. But then you have to remember on the counter side, sure, you've deleted like 1 operative, but now these 3 are just going to shoot you back because they're within white, so they're negating your cover and they're just going to shoot you to death. So maybe you don't really want to suicide in, but it's something to keep in mind. Another more niche use is to use doors to shut down operatives who can't do mission actions, because the open a door is a mission action. So if your team that your opponent is using has operatives where mission actions count as +1 APL to use or can't do mission actions, you can do some very funny things. Let's say Gunner Jimmy, he's gone on guard, he's tried to shoot at this Nurgle Anointed. He's failed, he's been charged, and he's been horribly killed. Now these 3 guys only have las guns. You do have your sergeant with a plasma pistol, but only hits on 3s, and you're not really confident in being able to take down this Nurgle Anointed. So what do? You move up and you close this door. And now you are forever safe from this Nurgle Anointed, who can now only just continually bang on the door and is unable to figure out how to actually open it. But this is once again very situational and niche, and generally, unless someone's badly positioned their operative, usually the Anointed is, or a similar operative who finds mission actions harder to do, is in somewhere where you need to control an objective. But this is great on missions where you can pick up or timed objectives, because, as I said, especially if this is one of the major doors leading into your drop zone, or let's say this guy's carrying an objective, this Anointed is now trapped. And if you've killed everyone else who can open doors, your opponent now either has to just give up or dedicate another operative to come down there and open that door. So this is very situational, but it's also hilarious yet thematic. You're like, well, we've seen enough of that, guys. Let's just close the door and forget it ever happened. But even doing that against someone who has just charged and fought is great, because especially if they're out of position, all they can do next turning point is move and open the door. That's a Marine, so they could dash, open the door and move. But remember, you can't charge. So either way, you've actually slowed down the operative for another turning point, which can usually win you the game, especially if you're carrying objectives and stuff. Now, while blocking doors is great, especially if you're hiding around, something you have to be aware of is any kind of blast weapon. Especially even if you're camped up against the door, you are very vulnerable to blast attacks, because any sort of weapon with the blast special rule, as well as Torrent, has the lethal 5-up special rule. And you need to keep an eye on grenades, because let's say you've got 4 guys bunched up there, and this is a normal guy with, let's say, a frag grenade. They will happily move there, open the door and frag everyone, because all of a sudden they're lethal 5-up, so they're doing lots of damage because it's going to bounce into that one and hit everyone. Something to keep in mind. It's a lot more dangerous on stuff with like grenade launchers, because let's say you open the door to get a shot, you shoot someone and you go, I'm on guard, but everyone else is concealed or engaged. All they have to do is move someone in range. Let's say, for example, this is just a gunner with a grenade launcher. They can move in, tank the shot, and then grenade launch everyone. I've seen it a lot. You have to be really careful of blast weapons, especially on stuff like psychic powers. And I said, even frag grenades, when they go to lethal 5-up, they become a real annoyance, because at the moment, you go 2-3. Oh, but it's only on a 6 they do 3. But when you're rolling 4 dice against 4 to 5 operatives, it's huge.
But yeah, after that explanation, for the overview, Yeah, it's basically for using doors, it really comes down to your kill team composition and the mission you're playing. You generally don't want to open doors for key room areas, depending on the mission, especially if it's a late game opening mission, because as in like if all the scoring done is in the final turning point, because generally opening a door and rushing in early is just going to get you shot up or exposed. Now, this does vary, as I mentioned, based on the composition of your opponent and your own kill team. If you're a shooty kill team and your opponent is running predominantly a melee threat, obviously it's going to be much better for you to immediately open the door and start going on guard. But if they're a shooting team as well, then you have to be very careful about doing that, because remember, unless the doors are opened, you guys won't see each other. So you can keep yourself safe, and then if that mission is scoring at the end of the last turning point for the game, then you can commit and rush with all your forces, especially if you outnumber your opponent. But it really is mission specific, but I wouldn't just open doors for the sake of it. Sometimes that can lead to quite damaging effects, as you'll see in some of my battle reports. Then it comes to hatch fighting. Now you need to remember doors are mission actions, and you actually can't charge and then hatch fight unless your opponent is going to be within black of the door where you're charging from, so you're actually in engagement range. And you're going to, as I said, you're going to run into weird situations where normally you would have been able to charge and then fight, but because of how the hatch works, you're going to have to be able to move and dash, or move. But you can move and dash and hatch fight, which is kind of similar to like scramble fighting, where you can dash then scramble charge. And then, yeah, remember when you're hatch fighting, unless you're actually within engagement range, you don't get engagement range bonuses or penalties of the target. And yeah, you can do this weird thing where you could have 4 enemy operatives within white of the door, but it boosts your range, so you can attack longer than you would normally. So if you catch an opponent off guard who thinks, oh, I'm over an inch away from that door, I'm safe. If you like have free APL or you're next to the door, you can immediately open that hatch and fight. And the best thing is actually doing that while concealed, because you can move and then hatch fight while concealed. So it's something to remember. But also, when you're outnumbered that way, if you better have operatives in the ready for backup, because otherwise the other 3 operatives or however many are left are just going to shoot you up. And then yeah, the other thing is, you can lock operatives in rooms if they can't do mission actions, or mission actions cost +1 APL. But once again, this is very mission dependent, and it kind of is capitalizing on the mistake an opponent does. Like notables like the Legionary Anointed when the demon is unleashed, but also stuff like the Gellerpox Infected for their Nightmare Hulks, and even stuff like, what do you call them? Poxwalkers. You know, they +1 APL to do mission actions. Because generally, they're going to be on important points. But let's say you're on a mission, as I said, where you can pick up and run away, locking those guys in, even if they can do mission actions, but it costs them +1 APL, usually those are 2 APL models. So you just continue closing the door after they've opened it, or just shut them down. So key things to keep in mind there. But briefly going over, don't open doors for the sake of it unless you can manipulate it. Remember how hatch fights work. They're not exactly like charges. And see if you can lock people behind doors, especially if they cost +1 APL to do mission actions or can't do mission actions at all. And also when it comes to camping doors, you know, when you're trying to block them off, just keep in mind blast attacks, because blast attacks are going to rip through all of your guys. So, you know, there's a benefit and disadvantage to camping doors, but it really depends on the mission and your opponent, which kind of, you know, comes to all these points, but it is a standout feature. But yeah, I hope that video was, this video was entertaining and that it helped. Once again, thanks goes to my patrons who requested this video. This is one of my monthly requested videos. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So remember to like and subscribe as well as comment. Let me know what you thought. Did it help? Did it not? What did I miss or what didn't I cover? And yeah, that's pretty much it. And also, if you want, I've got a Discord. You can check out in the episode description below, as well as a Patreon if you want to give me some more support. But I'll just quickly thank my patrons. So for my adepts of the crit, I have Zamaru, Sam, Tarun, Kenzie, John Thomas, Dave, Average Joe 27, and Adzik. And then for my veterans of the crit, I have Sam, Joe, and Confucius. So thank you so much. Your support helps keep me going, and you know, I really appreciate it. And obviously, this is one of my monthly requested videos from my adepts of the crit and higher. But yeah, that's pretty much it. It's a bit quiet this week because I'm very busy with work and stuff. But I'll be back with more Into the Dark videos and battle reports soon. So, you know, I'm gonna go through all the missions. I've done recorded 3, so there's still 1 to come, and then I'm gonna record more. Like, I've played multiple missions on Into the Dark, but I get tired of re-racking, so I end up playing the same mission more than once. So there's more videos coming. But this is still quite a new video because it's like Into the Dark is still, everyone's still learning. So I wouldn't say this is like the be all or end all. It's just what I'm using for Into the Dark at the moment and like getting around doors, because hatch fights are going to be very important no matter what mission you're playing. But yeah, that's pretty much it for me. And yeah, I'm going to go away. So until next time, remember, if you're locked in a deadly duel over doorways, remember there's always hope as long as you can roll a crit.